Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction for Carole Tuesday, episode 18. So we're back this week with another episode of Carole Tuesday, and last we left off, Erdogan was a big focus. He had kind of a loss of, well, everything after things went wrong, and now he is trying to make a comeback after a little spell of depression. He's trying to work with Angela after using Carole's keyboard to write a new song. So I'm wondering where this is going to go, interestingly enough. He's already gotten accepted to work with Angela by Tao, so yeah, I mean, there's that. It feels really weird, though, that he's working with her instead of Carole and Tuesday. I understand he has a bit of a history with them and that he's never been like the biggest fan, but he clearly acknowledged their talent at Mars Brightest. And while, yes, Angela is still much more well known, I mean, he was using Carole's keyboard, so I don't know, it's a little weird. It's not a complaint against the show or anything, it's a little weird, that's all. I'm excited to see where this goes, though. I have heard one thing about this episode. I don't know what it actually is, but I know basically that people have been reacting semi-negatively to it. Like, I haven't heard like a whole lot of vitriolic hate or anything for the show or for this episode. But from what I'm hearing is that people are reacting kind of negatively towards something that happens. And I guess we'll just have to see what it is. I don't know what it is at all. I just, again, know about the reaction. And I don't even know what it means by like kind of negatively. Because it wasn't, it was very much using that kind of uncertain, what would you call it, wording. It was using that kind of uncertain wording. It wasn't like saying, oh, everyone was like hating it or anything. No, it was just kind of, everyone's kind of upset. um, so I'm interested to see what that's about. Otherwise, I know nothing about this episode. Last time we also did get a little bit with Valerie and Spencer, as well as that reporter who was, I guess, reporting on them and is wanting to get some stuff from Carole Tuesday as well. I'm not sure how to feel about him yet. I don't think he's a bad guy at all, but I also don't think he's necessarily like a ally to our heroes, I guess we would call them, to Carole and Tuesday. I think he's pretty much as neutral as you can get with this show. He's just trying to do his job and to do it as unbiased and neutrally as possible, while following the story he thinks is, well, the best story to follow in this situation. Excuse me. That being said, I don't hate him or anything. I don't dislike him. I'm just not sure what to think. I don't know, like, where they're going to take this entire storyline. But I guess we're just going to find out. We're just going to get right into this. I don't need this on. I don't know why I have this on right now. Yeah, I don't need it on. So that being said, let's just get this going. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So I wonder how many people were watching the reaction there and wondering, if you ship Carole and Tuesday together so much and want this to actually come forward with the entire them being a couple angle, how are you just seemingly okay with Tuesday having a crush on Kyle like that? And the answer is actually super simple. Because love happens. Just because I want Carole and Tuesday to end up together in the end doesn't mean I don't think Carole can have other relationships or other. Uh, blah, blah, blah. I messed that up. I realized I said Carole. Just because I want Carole and Tuesday to end up together in the end doesn't mean I'm not okay with Tuesday having other relationships or crushes or whatnot. Tuesday is completely fine to have a crush on Kyle. And some people I know will probably say like, "Oh, but it's supposed to be a lesbian thing. Carole and Tuesday are they're supposed it's like oh, what's the word for it? There's a term for it that a lot of people use. Coding, that's it. They're coding it to be a lesbian relationship between these two. It's like why can't one or both of them be bi or pan? Why do they have to be lesbian just to be in a relationship together? Korra and Asami from Legend of Korra are both bi, and they're in a girl-girl relationship with each other. Just because they're in a girl-girl relationship doesn't mean they're strictly lesbian. The same goes for Princess Bubblegum and Marceline in Adventure Time. Even though I haven't finished the series, I do know the spoiler that in the final episode they do get together again, and it basically also kind of confirming that they have been a couple in the past, um, which is very strongly hinted at. And on top of that, like yeah, there's been romance options for them with guys. They're bi, just like Korra and Asami, and why can't Carole and Tuesday be bi? I think that's fine. I think that's completely great. In fact, I actually think that's a little better than just going with the simple lesbian option because I think that that would be too, again, simple, too easy, too basic. By having it be bi or pan, it gives more representation to those aspects of the LGBTQ plus community. Um, but getting back on topic, yeah, that's kind of the reason why I have one of the reasons why I have no issue with her having a crush on Kyle. And a couple things to note. One, it didn't end up going anywhere in the end. Kyle clearly has another girlfriend who he openly kissed in public, so it's like very obvious that they're together. Um, and that's completely fine as well. Even Tuesday was hurt by it, but I'll get to that in a minute. Um, so it didn't actually go anywhere. So the possibility of Carole and Tuesday still ending up together is still a thing. And even if it did go somewhere, even if Kyle and Tuesday did end up dating for a time, um, even if that were the case, it still could have ended this. It still could have had them break apart at some point and have her and Carole get together. It's very possible. So that's why I was not upset with that at all. Um, in fact, I actually think it's super cute that she had a crush on Kyle. Now, I don't actually think they would have ended up together as well. Like, when I first saw that she was crushing on him, I didn't even think that they were going to end up together. And I think the biggest reason for that is the age difference, if I'm being honest. Like, Kyle, he's like, what? He's got to be like at least mid-20s. And she's 17. And yes, she's going to probably be turning 18 semi fairly soon. But still, it's still a notable difference that while, like, for consenting adults is completely fine to have an age difference like that, but when she's introduced as a 17-year-old girl, it does kind of come across as a little weird, a little off-putting. So to have her in a relationship with more of someone her age, it would make more sense. And obviously, Carole is her age, so I didn't think it was going to go anywhere because of that as well. Plus, there's also the idea of conflict of interest there. Um, but let's go into Tuesday's reaction when finding out he had a girlfriend or fiance, wife, etc., whatever. Tuesday was heartbroken. So heartbroken that she left the cafe or restaurant or whatever that was and just started walking. presumably for a while too, because it got dark out, it started snowing. Carole eventually was able to find her, and the two embraced as Carole comforted her. And some people will look at that as like another hint about them eventually getting into a relationship. But even though I ship them hardcore, and even though I really want it to end that way, I don't see that scene. I don't see that moment as standing for that. That moment actually comes across more to me as someone comforting their friend. She could clearly see how hurt Tuesday was. And she didn't even need to know why. She didn't need to ask what the reason for it was. She just embraced her. She comforted her when Tuesday needed it. And you don't have to be a couple to do that. I've comforted friends when they've needed it without having any kind of romantic interest or connection with them. But I do understand what Tuesday's going through, because many times in my life I have had crushes on people and have become heartbroken when finding out that they were with someone. Especially a couple times where I found out that they actually got together with someone after I had started crushing on them. And it hurt me because I felt like I had wasted my chance. There have been many occasions like this, and I can definitely feel the pain she's going through. I've faced it. But I also know it is something that you can get over, you can work past. It is something that you do learn to move on from. And I know that sounds harsh, just the wording, but it's true. It doesn't affect you forever. It's going to hurt. It may even hurt for a couple days or even weeks. But eventually, you're going to start to see the positives in your life again. And I believe that's going to happen with Tuesday. She's going to see the positives of her life with Carole, with Gus, with Rhodey, with her album recording under Toby, with the fact that they're now going to be performing at this festival. She's going to see the positives. And with help from her friends, she's going to bounce back. But then I want to, of course, talk about the other two storylines that are continuing from last episode. First, Erdogan. This one wasn't really gone into much in this episode. Erdogan and Tao are arguing about the song. Tao's AI copied Erdogan's song perfectly, according to Tao. Erdogan has an issue with it, saying it should be bigger, more bombastic, more exciting. He thinks that it's not good enough. And it's Erdogan, so that makes sense. But the two can't seem to come to any kind of consensus on this. And that's pretty much all we really see from their angle. Because the next part is definitely a lot more focused on in this episode. And that is the entire thing with Angela's stalker. So we check in with Aaron, and he's definitely really badly injured, but he's alive. He survived the crash. He survived getting hit by the car. He's alive. He'll survive. But he also seems like he just doesn't want anything to do with this anymore. Like, he's done basically with Angela, and he just wants to kind of just stay away from that kind of shit, which is completely fair after something like that. We can see how Angela is getting more and more terrified by this stalker, how it's legitimately just frightening her. And Angela's normally a pretty cool and composed person, so to see her lose her cool like this through this kind of event, it's good. It makes sense that she would. It feels natural. We find out also that the car, it was a remote controlled car, or no, a self-driving car rather. It was a self-driving car, and it was apparently hacked into by the stalker. Now, Angela had the police and all search for bugs and stuff, but they didn't find any. And like when she said that, it's like I brought up, wait, if he hacked into the car and everything, if he's a hacker, then he could just be hacking into your cameras and stuff. In which case, there wouldn't be any bugs or anything. He's not bugging anything. He's hacking into it. There's a difference. And considering after she like said this and all, like while they were in the car, it closed in on the camera at the top on the top of the car there. I'm thinking that's what it was. That he's been hacking into the cameras and watching and listening to her, which is how he responded after she and her mother were talking about uh, like getting scared and thinking he's a nuisance and shit. And he started texting her and saying like, "Oh, you think I'm a nuisance? You think I'm a piece of shit? It's like you're a traitor. It's like see if I help you again." And it's like I was talking about that earlier in the episode. I was talking about how this is a very delicate situation. You can't just outright reject them because in case of a overzealous, dangerous stalker like this, if you just outright reject them, it could be very dangerous for you or your loved ones. And at this point, I think it's reached that level because even though she didn't, well, I guess she did technically outright reject him. And he's pissed about it. He's calling her a traitor. That he feels like as a fan, he has basically a right to her, a right to this. And by her rejecting that, he feels that she's betraying her fan. And so when he said like in that text, like, "Well, see if I protect you anymore," or whatever exactly it was, that's a terrifying statement. That's a threat. Considering everything he's done so far, that could be seen as a threat. Like, that's not okay. So she's in a really dangerous situation. I think she needs to be guarded, whether by police or some kind of security force. She is not safe right now. And I would say the same for her mother. I would say the same for just anyone close to her. It's getting to that point where that storyline is really unnerving because it's like it's clearly showing how much danger she's in. And I like the way that contrasts with what happened with Tuesday here. Because here's the thing. Angela is facing a legitimate, terrifying threat to her livelihood and possibly her life. Tuesday faces an emotional issue brought upon by her own feelings for someone. Tuesday, her issue is purely emotional, purely like in her own feelings, based on the fact that she cared for someone who she finds out doesn't hold those feelings toward her. Angela is terrified because of legitimate danger, because she doesn't reciprocate the feelings that someone else has for her. It's basically a very good contrasting set of scenarios between these two, and I really like that, actually. I really like how they handled that. And while Tuesday is going to be on the upswing thanks to Carole and her friends, and she's going to, again, I don't like using this terminology, but she's going to start working past it and getting over it. Angela's just at the start of everything. This is just starting to be as dangerous as it is. And so it's a great contrast. I love how these two stories are working against each other thematically, but still fit naturally into the same narrative. It's honestly phenomenal writing. It's just amazing to have seen them do that. I'm not saying by any means that it was the greatest bit of writing in this show, or just period. But it was a fantastic it was fantastic nonetheless at how they handled that and what they did with it. I think that it was very well done. Simple as that. um, but yeah, I think the big thing about this, the big takeaway from this episode, is that things are going to hit you in life. Sometimes they're going to be super serious, like what happened with Angela, or what's happening with Angela. And sometimes they're going to be just fleeting moments, like what happens with Carole, or Tuesday, rather. Why do I keep mixing them up this time? What happens with Tuesday? More fleeting, more of a moment, rather than a big incident. But no matter what, you have to work past them. You have to get yourself to the other side, basically. You have to be strong enough, and you have to trust in those close to you. And I think that's going to be the big deciding thing to end both of those plot points. Tuesday's going to have to rely on her friends, going to have to rely on Carole, Gus, Rhodey, going to have to rely on this album they're making, going to have to rely on this festival to brighten up her spirits again. Angela's going to have to rely on her mother. She's going to have to rely on security, police force, maybe even Tao, in order to protect her and get this stalker, like, get him away from her, get justice served. There's a lot of, like, necessary reliance on people being started to be put at play here. And I think that's important, and I think that they're handling this really well. And it just continues to prove why I love this fucking series so much. Because it is so well handled, so well written, so well just thought out. Shinichiro Watanabe, the writers, they're just putting so much effort into this. And it shows. And I love it so much. So yeah, I thought this was another fantastic episode. And yeah, I'm not upset about Tuesday having a crush on Kyle. I think that it's fine. And hell, I think it's even pretty cute. So yeah, I do want to know, though, what you thought of this episode. Tell me your thoughts down in the comments below, and thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and thank you so much for tuning in to today's video. If you want to check out any of my social media links and more, please check them out over to the side. And if you have any comments, questions, concerns, please leave those down below. In the meantime, though, thank you so much once again for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.